Okay, so Football Club History Series. We're going to take a break from Norway briefly, and we're going to do one video on possibly the most famous non-league club in English football, which is Yeovil Town Football Club. Most famous for, I believe, its 23 wins as a non-league side over Football League opposition as a non-league side in the FA Cup. They've also had some cup giant killings as a Football League side in the FA Cup as well, but I do know that they have a ridiculous record in the FA Cup against Football League opposition as a non-league side. Now, the club itself, founded in 1895, play home games at Hughes Park, capacity 9,565. Now, my uncle and his oldest son are supporters of this club, so my cousin and uncle are fans of Yeovil Town. Now, between 1895 and 1945, they play in a variety of leagues in the non-league. Now, they will play in the Somerset Senior League on two separate spells. They will also spend two separate spells in the Southern League, both before World War II and after World War II. But before World War II, between 1895 and 1945, they start out in the Somerset Senior League before moving on to the Southern League, Western League, Bristol Charity League and the Dorset District League. After World War II, they make the return back to the Southern League between 1945 and 1979. This is where some of their very famous FA Cup exploits first begin in the FA Cup as a non-league club with their giant killing. Between 1979 and 1985, they're members of the Alliance Premier League. They move on to the Isthmian League in the 85-86 season. They spend 2 seasons there, finishing up in the 86-87 season before going on to the Football Conference. Now, they're in the Football Conference between 1987 and 1995 before relegation back down to the Isthmian League. 2 years in the Isthmian League between 95 and 97 before going back to, you guessed it, the Conference, which is now known as the National League. Between 97 and 2003, they are in the Conference before promotion to the Football League. Now, they played in the Football League between 2003 and 2019. Obviously, they start off in League 2, they make it to League 1, and ultimately they make it to the Championship. Their one season in the Championship was an unmitigated disaster. They finished 24th, therefore last in the Championship. And then there were several relegations back to the non-league. In 2019, there were 3 consecutive relegations. It wasn't good fun being a Yeovil Town fan between 2016 and 2019. Really wasn't fun. They do stabilise in the National League initially. So the 2019-2020 season, when COVID hits and league players suspended, they were 4th in the National League in the playoff places. But, however, the COVID period would be financially ruinous for the club. They nearly basically go out of business. They get relegated out of the National League as well as having a new ownership come in 2023. They play 1 season in National League South, 2023-2024. Get out of that league, so for the next season, as I'm recording this video in 2024-2025, they'll be playing back in the National League again. So that's just covered all the non-leagues they played in, plus their brief Football League existence. Yes, they spent 16 years as a Football League club. I just think that one Championship season was a disaster. They haven't fully recovered from the disastrous season in the Championship, where they clearly overextended themselves, never really got going, and ended up having multiple back-to-back relegations. But they seem to be on the way up with new ownership in recent years. Honours. They've won a lot of non-league honours, but the big non-league honour they've won is the FA Trophy in the 2001-2002 season, not long before they become a Football League side. It's the records which are really interesting. Now, I could have looked at all the FA Cup records and FA Cup crowd attendances and bored everyone to death with their FA Cup history, which we can do a separate video on. We really can. But some of the club records are really interesting, and I do think only one of these records potentially can get, maybe 2 of the records potentially can get beaten. One of them relies on a player doing it for more than 14 years, might say. We shall see. But 14 consecutive wins is a club record. That was set last year in 2023, in their 2023-2024 season. That's ridiculous, 14 consecutive wins. That's very hard to do for any club at any level. The most appearances is held by Len Harris at 691 appearances between 1958 and 1972 in the Southern League era. Johnny Hayward is the record goal scorer all time with 548 goals between 1906 and 1928. That's not going to get broken, I don't think, but not with modern football the way it is and the lack of club loyalty with players. Dave Taylor, 284 league goals between 1960 and 1969. Would have played alongside Len Harris in this period in the Southern League. I, again, find it very, very hard that a player would break that club record. Potentially could, but I find it hard. Len Harris also has the longest tenured player at a club record at 14 years between 58 and 72. Now, the consecutive wins I can see getting broken. A player spending 14 years at a club, very unlikely these days, although its potential could be done. Some players have spent lengthy spells at the club, nothing as long as the great Len Harris. So there's some of the club records. Find that very, very interesting as well. Now, I could have done record home attendance, record, a crowd that the club's played in front of, against Manchester United, by the way, 81,000. Record attendance at Hughes Park is basically capacity, so we've covered a lot of those records in the past. I just find it interesting how many different leagues this club has played in. Two separate spells in the Somerset Senior League, two separate spells in the Southern League, when the Southern League, the first time round, was the main rival to the Football League. But Football League rules at the time really alienated a lot of Southern League clubs from potentially making that step from Southern League to Football League, because the Football League at the time said you're only allowed to have one club in a town. You couldn't have two clubs in the same town in the same league. Which is why the Football Alliance first started up, and why the Southern League clubs actually resisted joining the Football League until after World War One. That is a video I've got to do a topic on, is why the Football League resisted two clubs in one town. Which is why Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United, one was a Football League club, Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United was a Football Alliance club. That's why we have two clubs in Sheffield now, is because of the ban on two clubs in one town. That's why Blackburn Olympic disappeared and Blackburn Rovers remained. The two clubs, one town. It just, Football Alliance wasn't financially viable, and the Southern League didn't. It stayed strong because there was a lot of clubs that weren't allowed to join the Football League initially. So there you go. There's some Football League stuff. Got to do a separate video on that. But Yeovil Town themselves, very, very interesting club. Played in a lot of different leagues. Some of these leagues still exist, some don't. Obviously, some have been rebranded, like the Conference, which is now called the National League. The Isthmian League does still exist, but at a lower level than what it was initially. I think the Southern League still actually exists as well, again at a different league level. Some of these district leagues have been absorbed by bigger leagues, so it's very, very interesting, the history of Yeovil Town. Very old club as well. Very, very old club. And considering that Somerset and Dorset is more known for its rugby union and its cricket, and when they were in the Football League, they were the only club from Somerset in the Football League. Very, very interesting. Their biggest rivals are Dorchester Town and Weymouth, although they have rivalries with the clubs from Bristol, Swindon, Exeter. It's very, very interesting. They were the only Football League club from Somerset for 16 years, and that is stunning. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comment section below if you are a Yeovil Town fan, and I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.